Hey everyone, Tony Gentilcore here in Brookline, Massachusetts, right outside Boston. And today I wanted to talk about a little bit of the differentiation between what I would call a real hip flexor stretch and a bullshit hip flexor stretch. So all of this is going to come under the umbrella that we've assessed somebody and we've deemed them to have short or stiff hip flexors. And I, for one, think a lot of static stretching is overprescribed, and what comes across or what presents as maybe stiffness or shortness or perceived tightness in the hip flexor area might be more protective tension because someone's very unstable. So that's an important point to consider and something that I've written on in the past, so I would encourage you to search that out. But when somebody does stretch the hip flexors, I find that it is something they do wrong. And what I would call a bullshit hip flexor stretch is when somebody, if we perceive somebody to be in an excessive anterior pelvic tilt, they'll stretch themselves in anterior pelvic tilt. And they're not really doing anything except for cranking through the lumbar spine, going to excessive lumbar extension, and then they're blowing through their anterior hip capsule, and they're really not solving anything by doing that. So a real hip flexor stretch is going to be to get to somebody to appreciate half kneeling position and thinking about their pelvis as a bowl and making sure that they're in good position here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have them posteriorly tilt their pelvis, squeeze their glute right here, posteriorly tilt the pelvis, and maybe slide forward maybe an inch or two. And I call this the eyeball moment, because when somebody does that correctly, their eyeballs light up and they're kind of in shock that such a little motion gets that actual hip flexor stretch that we're looking for without them cranking through into excessive anterior pelvic tilt and lumbar extension. So again, get them half kneeling, engage that posterior tilt, nice tall chest, squeeze that glute a little bit, and then I'm going to rock forward ever so slightly, and I'm feeling plenty of a hip flexor stretch right now, and I'm in a nice tall position. I would hold this for maybe a 15, 20, 30 second count, do the other side, and that is a real hip flexor stretch. So try that yourself, try that with your clients, and you'll see a marked difference in how they actually feel the stretch and they're actually accomplishing somebody by doing it correctly.